Well, it's a pretty day outside today, but we're going to be spending the day we're going to be spending the day listening to my clock chime. Every time. Anyways, it's 1 o'clock. I'm glad y'all back with me. We're in the kitchen today, even though it's beautiful outside today. The sun's shining. You just need a light jacket on today. It's just really nice. But we're going to be doing some baking. And y'all know me. Y'all know I love to bake. And y'all know that I absolutely love old-fashioned vintage recipes too. But I wanted to get this done and get it out tomorrow, which will be Saturday, because I'm going to be busy this weekend doing some things outside. And we're supposed to get a lot of rain too, I think. And it's supposed to really get cold. So we'll have to be getting wood up. We got a tree down that we got to get cut up. So anyways, I want to get this done today and get it to you. Now y'all know that I'm an old soul at heart. And people tell me that all the time. But I'm 57 years old. So, and I was raised by grandparents that were homesteaders, and everything was just done from scratch, and everything was always so good. And my mama's family, and just family passed on down, Danny's family, everybody were just good old-fashioned cooks. So that's what I've been around all my life, and I appreciate it every day, because everybody contributed and taught me a lot. So y'all know I love vintage recipes, but today we're going to be making a blackberry jam cake. And there's several different recipes out there for it. I'm going to show you the one I use. And on top of that, I'm going to be using a brand new mixer. I had an email from, and I'm going to try to pronounce this right. It's HAUSWIRT company, and asked me if I'd do a review on their mixer, and I said of course I would, because I love a good mixer. So we're going to use it today, and it's got several different things, and I'll show you here in a little bit that you can do with it. So let's get busy and let's make us a blackberry jam cake, and it's going to be really good. First thing we're going to do is we're going to sift our flour. We've got 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I've got 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and a half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to put all the dry ingredients in my sifter, and I'm just going to sift it all together. Now you want to get ready 3 9-inch cake pans. And what I've done is I just I use a little bit of butter. You can use shortening or lard, whichever. And I put a little bit of flour in there, so they're ready to go. And I've got my oven heating to 350. Let's talk about the rest of our ingredients. You need 6 large eggs, a cup of sour cream. I'm using 2 cups of dark brown sugar. If you don't have dark brown, you just have regular brown sugar, that's fine. But if you have just light brown sugar, but you have some molasses in the cupboard, just add you a little bit of molasses to that and make it as dark as you want. Of course, making your own brown sugar is just white sugar with molasses mixed into it. And I would rather do mine when I need it instead of it sitting around. It kind of clumps up. My house is so dry in here, but it's still that brown sugar. The molasses, the raw molasses in it, and it not being processed altogether, it seems to really stay sticky, but you can still do it, put it in a good dry container, and it'll stay for a good while. So we got our 6 large eggs, a cup of sour cream, our 2 cups of brown sugar, and we've got our 2 cups of blackberry jam. And I'm going to say that's about 2 cups because that is a largemouth pint. So that usually holds about 2 cups of jelly, jam, whatever. Now, optional, I've got some English walnuts. You can use pecans, or you don't have to put any nuts in there at all. So, let's get started on getting this mixed up and get them in the oven. Okay, I forgot one ingredient because it was sitting over there on the counter. You need a cup of softened butter, 2 sticks of butter. Now, let's talk about this mixture a little bit. This is a I know I ain't saying it right, HAUSWIRT. You have to say it real fast. And it's got a really sleek design here. And when they sent it, it come with these 3 different attachments. Of course, we're going to be using this one today. This one would be for your cake mixes and puddings and just all kinds of different things like this. This would be for your cookie dough and stiffer doughs. And then it comes with a dough hook. And this is a 5.3 quart. I think that's right. And it says that you can make enough dough in here for 4 regular sized pizzas and quite a bit of bread dough. Now the thing of it is, it's 550 watt AC motor, but it can handle it goes up to 1,000 watt. As it, you know, if it's really getting fast and really beating good, it'd get up to 1,000 watts. And it's got a built-in overload protection. So if it's like if you think it's going to get too hot, or if it thinks it's getting too hot, it'll shut off. So that'd be a good thing. But it's supposed to be really heavy duty for big batches of different kinds of doughs and cookies and just stuff like that. Now it's got this little thing. Let me move y'all down just a little bit. First we'll talk about this. I've never seen one that was digital. And what this is about is you can do your speed, and I'll show you that in a minute. And what's cool about it is, you know, a lot of recipes will say, beat your pizza dough for 20 seconds. And you can put this on 20 seconds and let it do its thing, and it'll stop and a beeper go off. So, you know, a lot of times I'll look up there and think, okay, 20 seconds, or I'll count 20 seconds, or whatever. And it goes up to 20 minutes, I believe, if I'm correct. I had to check that. So that's a good thing to have. I'm going to move you down just a little without dropping y'all. This right here is you just push it up and the top comes up just like that. And you do it and it'll pop right back down. These right here is your buttons for it. There we go. Maybe it'll focus. Now I've got this plugged in, so I'm just going to show you. It's on off. But if you're doing a recipe, it's getting blurry on me. If you're doing a recipe that needs to pulse, you can put it over here on P, and you can control it yourself just like that. Now, if you're doing a recipe and it says beat on medium speed, and at this point I really don't know what medium speed is, but it goes all the way from 1 to 8. And we'll figure that out the more we use it. It's got suction cups on the bottom, so it will stick to your countertop and it won't be moving around, you know, too bad. Won't be pushing around. So, let's get started mixing this cake up. What do you guys say? Whoops. Tear it up before I even get to use it. So I've washed everything good. I think I'm going to take this back off. Now you can see the design of this. So we'll see how well it gets around the bowl. Okay, the first thing we're going to put in our bowl before we put our beater attachment on is we're going to do our butter that I almost forgot about. You know, I always like trying out new stuff because you just never know. And this one's got a pretty good attachment to it. And I'll show you that here in a minute. It's got a shredder that you can shred cheese, slicer. It comes with, but I didn't get it yet, and I may do it. It comes with a meat grinder, and then on the other side, you can get the blender that goes with it. So this little machine does quite a bit of stuff, evidently. Okay, we got our cup of butter. We're going to put our 2 cups of dark brown sugar. And we're just going to cream that together. We're over here in natural sunlight doing this today because I just need some natural sunlight. So that's why we're on this side of the world. That's why we're cooking over here. So let's see what we can do here. We're going to we can either just pulse it till we, whatever. We don't have to put a timer on it. So that's 1. That's about 3. And that's on 5. Now you can hear how deep that motor is. Okay, I'm going to lift this up. And I can see one thing that, now the other attachment might do better, but it didn't go around the sides very good, so I'm having to scrape it down. But I have to do this with my KitchenAid too. But they do have different attachments, and some of them are better than others. But we'll just scrape it down. And like I said, this attachment might get around the sides better, not sure. Haven't used it yet. So we're going to shut it down. We're just going to blend that up a little bit. It does sound, and it does just feel like pretty heavy duty. Now the outer side is not off, Lori. It's some kind of a hard plastic. I really don't know what you'd call it, but the material. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our 6 eggs. I think I'm just going to pulse them. Oh, that's fast. Okay. We're going to do one at a time. Now it does have, and I forgot, I'm not very good at this, am I? It does have a splash guard right here. I didn't see no reason for me to have the splash guard making this. But there are certain things that you would need to use splash guard with. But I knew I didn't need it today, so we're going to put our eggs in. And like I said, I've not used this yet. This is my first time, so once I get better at it, I won't be so slow at it. I just want y'all, I keep going over the pulse, I just want y'all to see it, see what it does. So I'm just kind of mixing each egg up individually. We got our 6 eggs mixed up in there, and I ended up putting the paddle on, and it seems to be getting around the edges better than the beater did. Yeah, it's doing a lot better getting around the edges. So we got our butter and our sugar and our eggs in there. So all we got to do now is I'm going to put in my sour cream. Now, if you don't have any sour cream, you can replace this with buttermilk. You may have to use just a little bit more buttermilk, not sure, but you can start with 1 cup of buttermilk. So you have either choice, sour cream or buttermilk. And the recipe will be down in the description box. So I'm just going to mix that a little. And like I said, the more I use this, the faster I'll get with it. Okay. Now, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put my flour in. And my flour has got my cinnamon, salt, and baking soda in it. This is such a, I mean, different blackberry jam cake recipes. Like I said, there are several out there. And everybody's great-great-grandma had a good recipe for it. So it's just one of them kind of cakes. Now I do know that if I'd have turned this up any higher without the splash guard on, I think cake batter would have went everywhere. But I can tell you, it just to me feels like it's got quite a bit of power to it. So I'm sure it's going to have its pros and cons like every mixer does. I don't know of a perfect mixer. Of course, at school we had a huge floor mixer. You could really mix up a bunch of stuff. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our 2 cups of jam in here. So whether if it's homemade blackberry jam or if it's store-bought, it doesn't matter. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put walnuts in it because I've got a bunch of walnuts in the freezer that I just really need to use up. And you know what? You can use any kind of jam really. This is just the more traditional. Because I know y'all have probably got all kinds of jams that y'all put up. And I think I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. And it smells so good. So the batter is going to look like, it's going to be purple. It's going to be pretty. So what I've seen is that it automatically goes to 20 seconds. Now, what I think I'm going to do is optional. I'm going to go ahead and put my walnuts in there. Like I said, you can put pecans or none at all. And there's some recipes that even call for raisins and dates, even some dried apricots cut up, you know, pretty fine. So we're just going to kind of fold them in. And if I wasn't using a new mixer and trying to review it, we'd have done had this whooped up. But we got to use a new mixer, and I'm excited. So I think that's good enough. We're going to get this over to our buttered and floured 3 cake pans. And while this is baking on 350 for about 40 minutes, we'll have to test it. We're going to make our beautiful icing that's going to go on it. Okay, we're going to get them in the oven. And I will probably put the timer on for 30 minutes. And I'll check it with a toothpick. And if any of them's not done, I might have to go for another 10 minutes. And I tell you, I tasted the batter. And you can taste that beautiful molasses and then blackberry jam. I'm telling you, it was delicious. I can just imagine. I ain't had one of these in a long time, so I'm just really excited about this. So we're going to put our cook time one for 30 minutes. And we'll be back. Over medium-high heat, we are going to mix all of our ingredients together for the frosting, which is 1.5 cups of heavy cream, 2 cups of granulated sugar, 2 sticks of butter, now this is not a cake that you would probably make all the time, but this is a cake you're going to make to take somewhere, to just something that's special, impress your friends with, take it to a church potluck or just anything like that. It is wonderful. Now you want to stir this up good, and I'm going to let this butter melt down, then I'm going to keep stirring it. And you want it to come to a softball stage, which is 234. Our butter melted, and it's on medium-high heat. It's at 180 right now. And I'm just going to keep stirring it. Probably got another 5-7 minutes or so. I think I'll turn it down just a little bit. Make sure you keep stirring it. Now, I turned it down. We ain't got much longer. Okay, our cakes are out of the oven after 30 minutes. And like I always tell you, ovens vary, so our frosting got up to 234. Now you can either use a hand mixer. I'm going to use my immersion blender, and we're just going to mix this till it starts getting a little bit thicker. Okay, you can see how it's thickened up. And as it cools off, it's going to get even thicker. And it tastes so good. My cakes were done after 30 minutes. They're cooling on the rack in the pan right now. Okay, the cakes are done after 30 minutes in my oven. And look how pretty they are. They're a dark purple color, and they smell absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to let them cool off in the pan for just a little bit. Then we're going to take them out of the pan and let them cool down completely before we put the icing on. I just can't wait to dig into this cake. I mean, look at this icing. Caramel icing. And the longer it cools, the thicker it gets. Yummy. I got my little cake deal here that I use when I decorate cakes. And I'm just going to put it on here for right now. FYI, and I figured it out when I was taking my cakes out of the pan. I forgot one step, and see, it's been so long since I've made it. But when you put nuts or any kind of raisins, dried fruit, make sure that you put them in a bowl and mix them up with a little bit of flour or something like that, because then that helps from them just falling to the bottom of your... They done pretty good, but still, that was just an oops on me, and just make sure y'all do it. So we're just going to put one layer there, and we're going to take this amazing caramel icing, frosting, whatever you want to call it. This cake, you can smell the blackberry jam, of course, but you can smell the dark brown sugar in it too. But that's mainly, I think, because I didn't have any dark brown sugar, so I went ahead and made my own by adding some molasses to it. And it just took it over the top, because you could smell that molasses when it was baking. The cabin just smelled wonderful. So just spread you some this delicious frosting. Over your first layer. Can y'all guess what time it is? It's 3:15. Mr. Brown's just now leaving the school on his school bus. About right now. Okay, I'm putting just a little bit more, because I've got plenty. You know what? This would be absolutely sinful on ice cream. I hope y'all enjoyed this recipe. You know, it's so much fun to bring back these old recipes that, you know, you haven't seen or made, or remind you of your grandma, and just stuff like that. Okay, let's put our second one on. Now, I think I did tell y'all that it took about 30 minutes in my oven, and they were good and cooked. Now, you can do this in a 10-inch tube pan, but I think when you do that, it's probably going to take a little bit longer, because it's going to be, you know, in there so thick and dense, so it would take longer to cook, but you can do it in a tube pan, bundt pan. Now, every time that you do a layer, after you put your frosting on there, you can also add a few nuts. If you want that many nuts in it, that's just up to you. And like I said in the recipe, you can add raisins to your cake batter, or any kind of really dried fruit would be good if you like that kind of thing. Just want to kind of chop them up and make sure that you mix them with a little bit of flour, or you throw them in your batter. You know, sometimes when you're doing a video, especially cooking, you know, when you're just in there every day cooking and you've done it for so long, it's just like you just do it and go on. But when you're doing it for a video, you have to try to think of everything in it. You know, it gets kind of, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to mess up. And sometimes you do. But you know what? That's just real. And you go back and you fix it. And you're good to go. Okay, there's another layer. We're going to take the third layer. And I'm going to turn it upside down so that the top's good and flat. They did cook up really good. Now, here we go. The wind's blowing my front door open. I barely had it shut because I'd been out to get wood to put in the wood cook stove, and I guess I didn't shut it very good. But we've had a very pretty day today. I think tomorrow we're supposed to get some more rain. I think by the end of the day it's supposed to be like 100% chance. And but just let that frosting just kind of run over the sides. Oh my. This will make you want to slap somebody. I always hated it when somebody said, make you want to slap your granny. It's not very nice. I'll slap my granny. Just let it run. And it's all over the place. May have to kind of push it, get it up on there. But then just take your cake spatula and just kind of run it around the sides. Now, when we get done with this cake, I'm going to go back and I'm going to, if y'all want to hang around for just a couple more minutes, I'm going to show you a couple more things that mixer will do. There's a couple more attachments, and then there's even more attachments you can buy for it that kind of bring it over the top. Now, like I said, I was asked to do the review on it. Now, I can't really give a precise review yet till I've used it a little bit more. Did it do a good job on the cake? Yes, it did. But like I said, I hadn't used it yet, so I got to figure, you know, what's best and which way works best. But the way it's so streamlined and flat on top, I'm thinking that, you know, if you had a countertop that had above cabinets, it would fit under them cabinets really good. I'm just going to keep winding this around, and I may keep the rest of that, put it in the fridge and eat it on some ice cream, because it made quite a bit. I know my cake looks kind of lopsided, but who cares? But this would be a wonderful cake. If you're wanting to show off, you're going to a reunion or something like that, and people say, what is that? And you say, it is a blackberry jam cake. An old-fashioned blackberry jam cake. And they're going to go, what? Well, that's really special. I think it is anyways. But anyways, this needs to set up just a little bit more, and I need to clean up the sides. But what you can do too, and I left them over there by the sink, but you can take you just a little bit more walnuts, sprinkle on the top. Okay, let's see what else this blender, or this mixer do. HAUSWIRT. HAUSWIRT? I know I'm not saying that right, but anyways, right here is an attachment that goes up in the front. You can see I just already have I think this one shreds cheese. This is a shredder. And then you've got a slicer. But you just take it. It's about that easy. Then you pop which one you want in there. Maybe you're supposed to do that first. Let me see. Then do it. Then it's got this, that whatever you're shredding up, push it down in there. Yeah, it works. Let me bring y'all around this side so y'all can see it. So, that's pretty neat. It's going to be handy too. Now back here in the back is a place that comes off, and right up here is where you can attach a blender, and they sell the blender that goes with this mixer, but it's sold separately. Now when I was looking, Amazon, which is where they sell it, they had a deal going where you could buy the mixer and the blender and the meat grinder, because there's also an attachment for a meat grinder that will attach right here where this attaches to, and it grinds meat. So eventually I may get that, the meat grinder. Now I have a commercial meat grinder, but the thing weighs 200 pounds, and sometimes it's just too much to get out for a little bit of meat, so that would be handy. So all that information will be down in my information box, description box. If y'all just want to look it over, just look at it or whatever. But we'll be using it some more and checking it out. Well guys, I hope y'all liked this video and loved the recipe. This recipe goes up over on the shelf with your grandma's old-fashioned molasses cake, great-grandma's old-fashioned apple cake. It's just your all-around southern old-fashioned cake recipe. So I'm so glad you hung around with me. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It does help us out a lot. And if you like it, hit that like button. If you're not getting our notifications, go back to our home channel and click that bell again, because that does help when you do that. A lot of people are saying, I'm not getting your notifications. Just go back and hit that black bell one more time, and that should help. God bless everybody. We love y'all.